we are back with GU, right? And of course, another one from January 2023, as we didn't have like already like so many. What a surprise! Like how many of those scenarios there is, right? Okay, so what do we see in this overall price action? Like first, if you look at the previous day, huge down run, creating all these sellers in here. Then momentum kicks in, London kicks in, induces. Again, there's no relevant break of structure points in here other than maybe this one, right? Again, other than there's not really any clean pullback zones in here. It's a little bit more risky, but if you just take this one, for example, of course, it comes back later in these areas. But then again, the day it gets very late and it just waffles around, sideways movement, just again building in creating sideways liquidity, ranging until the next day. That's how you always recommend you to close these trades and wait for the next day and wait for more clean price action. But to go even in more detail, so learn to read the story of price action and you will develop clear chart vision. What do we mean by that? So even if you see this day in here coming from this price action, you should be able to read the story. What does the price action and market behavior literally try to tell you and what you can read out of it? Again, you literally can read it like a book if you just understand price action the right way. So let me explain you what I mean by that. So first of all, again, we're coming into Asia in here with this equal highs in here. What is this? Fake break of structure away from the equal highs, right? Again, bringing in people to the downside in here. Then, of course, prices channeling up in here, faking the what? Smart money reaction, also faking the what? Fake break of structure. Finally comes back once again, messes around before war, boom, taking out the equal highs and also mitigating this overall price action in here. So we have the equal high inducement into mitigation. Then what after the inducement? What is a price? We have the relevant break of structure away from this inducement. Okay, and once we have the relevant break of structure, boom, price comes into order flow until when now? Until when is the next liquidity targets? Either in here or in here, right? For the Asia place, right? So same thing, takes out these zones and obviously it's good for pullback. That's the same thing, takes out these liquidity points because this is already done in here. It already took 1, 2 zones. There's no need to take out this. Also, they will do that later. It's all about building and creating liquidity, right? So after they took out these liquidity points, they can easily pull back, take another zone and do high to go even lower, pull back in here. But now guess what this does? Creating the equal lows, right? For the retailers, support kicks in. Oh, there we go. And guess what they do right after? Creating the channel, creating the trend for people to obviously go long, right? Away from this double bottom. And crazy support, right? Has to be. Definitely not. So guess what they do? They obviously tube them all out with the very clean tube to the downside. When is the timing? Until they also take out the equal lows and Asia low to the absolute minute in Frankfurt Open. So all these buyers who are getting induced here, induced with the channel, induced with the trend, they're all getting stopped. But on the other side now, again, people getting in with the breakout, they still see this crazy downtrend in here, they see a continuation, all that shenanigans in here, right? But also, guess what they left in here? New equal highs for our potential target for the long side. I hope you can slowly but surely identify these plays. So let's dig into this actually scenario to identify the proper signature setups in Frankfurt and London. Okay, so let's remove all that stuff, show the proper liquidity of how they're building the trend in here, right? The equal lows, Asia low already getting smoked. Again, this candle was solid black also at some point. And look at this crazy momentum. Like literally all the candles in here, the M5 candles, are like all bearish right? And of course, finally the breakout of Asia low and the inducement of the equal lows. Frankfurt Open to the absolute minute, right? So what do we do? You guessed it. And as we're just staying on the M5 now, again, we could technically break it down to the M1 as well. And here to get like maybe an early entry, if we just stick to the M5, relevant break of structure, the only possible one was all the way up here. We kind of got that now. So, and if it gives the relevant break of structure, and of course stays still in Asia range, we have a very high expectation that when it comes back in these areas, it definitely could give an entry. Or again, we wait for plays. Again, as this already is mitigated, if you see this wick in here, right? We also could have a possibility the price can react from here and go higher as well. It doesn't essentially have to go all the way back in here, as we saw in the earlier example on the M1 also, right? So be aware of this. If it gives a very late relevant break of structures, yes, technically it's always better to go straight from the inducement point of interest. But again, if you get this very late relevant break of structure, you can definitely expect something in these areas as well. But obviously you wait for confirmation. For now, we just see, okay, perfect inducement, in this case also medium one, as it took out structure to the left as well, also the equal lows, and this perfect intraday inducement with the Asia lows as well. And it obviously stopped out all these buyers in here. Momentum kicked in to the absolute minute, relevant break of structure. So the only question is our entry, right? So no clean POIs, as we said, as we have no imbalances. That's technically close to mitigated, and this is already mitigated as we have this wick in here. So we have to wait until they show us their hand once again in terms of the form of a building a liquidity scenario. So we just literally wait, and now look what they do. London brings in the liquidity. What do we see with the liquidity? So what are they showing in here? Can you identify what they're doing in here? It's not a perfect sideways build-up, but look how they're just ranging inside this channel to the downside. What retailers also call this flags or whatever. We should just be able to identify this proper price action here. So now the only thing you wait for is, of course, an inducement of this liquidity. And if it is an inducement low into potential mitigations, then you can definitely take this trade as well. Okay, so let's see what we do first. Again, we can mark up a potential point of interest, as we now base it on a liquidity being induced and not just pulling something out of our arse with a POI which we create out of nothing. No, we wait until the buildup is there. Then we can expect an inducement of the build of liquidity, right, into a potential demand area. And then obviously we can expect targets to get hit to the left, right? And again, how do they do it? First, they take liquidity in here, right? So first we put like, okay, that could be technically medium liquidity being taken, but it's still trading away from this overall inducement. So if we have two inducements in both directions, obviously you have to understand which one had the better impact. And ask this question yourself. What has more impact on liquidity? This equal lows of 2 days being created, then the false trend is being formed, right? Then the huge momentum to the downside, taking out these liquidity points in perfect Frankfurt Open, inducing everyone to the short side. There's no more buyers involved, right? And then press price higher. And this is just a normal structure break. Or is this maybe this in here? Okay, taking out the zone, and now they can go lower, trading into the inducement again, right? So learn the difference of just liquidity points being taken and proper inducements you want to trade away from overall. And in this scenario, we have this point just being a normal grab in here, good for pullback, good for reaction, especially if they create liquidity in here as well. If you get a proper inducement, we want to trade away from that as well, and away from the overall medium inducement in here. Okay, so again, in any case though, we wait and react. We will not predict, we will react. So again, we just identify a sideways liquidity in here, right? And boom, look at that, inducement into demand after a build of liquidity. After Frankfurt Open was already the medium inducement, we want to trade still away from that inducement. So we definitely can take this trade 100%, right? So let's jump into it. The only question is, where is the target? Again, as we look to the left, we had this minor point already been taken. What's the next target? Is this a target? No. Is this a target? No. Is this a target? No. But if you look at the whole Asia range, what's the Asia high which is never getting induced? Exactly. This is your perfect target. It's also previous days high plus Asia high. Absolutely perfect target, especially if you have such a nice medium inducement down there. So let's dig into it. Asia high of previous day, marked it up, and let's obviously see what happens. I think you can guess what sound does the market make. Tube, and what a beautiful one. And look at this absolute gorgeous trade, right? And guess what? There's even more, as now, of course, start thinking in these processes, these step-by-step processes. The whole day now is a trend. Yes, you're trading away from the medium inducement, but now you got a new medium inducement after the whole day was obviously induced to the high side. So we remove this happy guy in here to see price action after a medium inducement creating a relevant break of structure. Again, this push in here created another inducement in here. So technically, yes, the inducement was this first. But again, there's no relevant break of structure. It just makes another push high, completely fine. And now this push is broken. Looks like even news or something like that, right? What a surprise, how random the news are. But this provides us with the relevant break of structure off or away from this medium inducement. So what can we do? What did we learn? Again, it's not the signature London or Frankfurt trade, but overall it's trading away from medium inducement. So what can we do after the relevant break of structure, after medium inducement, after all the liquidity is created to the upside and everyone in their sister is getting to the buy side? We wait for the relevant break of structure away from the medium inducement, marking our medium inducement mitigation, wait until price gets in there, and we are good for a reaction. Absolutely gorgeous, right? So that's how the day ends off properly. And of course, we already can identify what's going on in here as well. If you're getting more advanced, you see that they creating what? Let's test your eyes. What the price action show in here. So think for a second, right? They creating sideways liquidity like crazy already. Exactly how they did it in here. So what do you wait for? You wait for another structural inducement to get people all excited. Also induced of liquidity to the downside in here. So what can you expect if you want to trade away from the inducement? Again, you had your reaction of the medium one, but now you created liquidity internally in here. You had your inducement low. So obviously we expect a reaction out of it after structure is being induced to a low side, induce low to go what? To go high, give the reaction, and it should become effortless to you to read price action at this point, as you literally can piece the puzzles, the intentions, everything together over and over again.